How did you get started in acting?
Oh man. Um, well, great question. I started in high school, and it's something that I didn't really consider like a thing until probably my junior and senior year of high school. Started taking it seriously. And then in college, I really got into it more. I considered doing theater with University of Central Florida, but the schedule was going to be kind of nuts,
Yeah.
and there was no way I was going to get to do 4 to 6 shows a semester, having to fend for myself. So I ended up just doing kind of more film stuff, and I ended up doing a student film, and I just fell in love with being on set, and it was kind of it was a pretty beautiful revelation that I needed to somehow pursue this. But that's that's kind of how the seed was planted. It didn't
Mhm.
really come to fruition until later. Yeah.
What was your first major role that you booked when you were first starting out? Do you remember?
Oh man, I think the major role in terms of, I would say that impacted my life the most, that solidified that I should pursue this, was this show that's shot in South Florida. It's called Burn Notice. I got to play it was just a co-star role. I had a few lines. I got to blow up a car. It was awesome. I got shot in it. It was my very first thing that I was like, oh man, I genuinely truly love this. So,
Mhm.
but after that, I would say the most prominent thing I've done, well, of course, the Liberator, which we'll talk about, and then probably the most meaningful is Brian Banks working as the district attorney on that show, or rather that movie, was one of the most impactful things I've done to date. And I got to meet some incredible people, work some incredible actors, Aldous Hodge, Greg Kinnear, Sherry Shepard amongst them. So it's been kind of a wild ride, but those are the
Definitely.
top of the list for sure.
And you've been on some Netflix shows as well, Cobra Kai and The Walking Dead. What were those experiences like for you?
Oh man. Both of those are great examples of being a fan of a show, such a big fan, and then when you get to work on them, you have to have that brief moment of saying, "All right, I have to turn off my spectatorship goggles, if you will, and I got to get my work hat on and really show up and bring whatever I can to whatever they're asking me to do." So I absolutely loved it. It was everything I'd hoped for, especially being on the set of The Walking Dead, being such a
Mhm.
fan of the characters, the sets, the world that
For
it is, and seeing so much of that like firsthand was absolutely, it's just so satisfying. Cobra Kai is a different story. It's a continuation, and this show that's kind of been propelled by the nostalgia of the original Karate Kid series, but being brought into this world, I really didn't realize how massive it would be before it got onto Netflix. I mean, I always knew it had a pretty solid fanship, but it wasn't until it hit Netflix that I really realized, holy moly, this thing is a beast of a show.
It
So,
really is. My parents obsess about it every day. They always talk about
oh,
it.
yeah. Oh, it's genius. It's genius because it appeals to exactly their generation, my
Mhm.
generation, yours. It's like it's just across the board. Anybody, my kids love it. My kids are teenagers, so it's like anyone can relate to it. It's just a fantastic, well written show.
For sure. And what did you learn the most from working on those projects? Did you learn anything? I know you mentioned on The Walking Dead you were a huge fan. Did you
Yes,
learn anything maybe from the actors or just being on the set?
yes. Watching Josh McDermott on that show, he plays Eugene. He has, I would dare say, some of the most difficult dialogue, technically speaking, because he has this. Not only does he have this like Southern drawl that's so heavy, but then on top of that, he also has. I'll tell you, they're technically difficult words and dialogue, and watching him overcome the challenge of having to, if he stumbled on a line, and resetting and staying connected and getting through a scene, extremely impressive. And it allowed me to realize that, all right, I'm going to give myself permission, if I'm ever in that position, to just reset, start over, have fun, stay connected, and get the job done. Stay cool, collected. And Josh McDermott is one of the best ones out there. I was blown away by his work.
For sure. That's super
Really, really
important,
solid guy.
especially when you're so busy to stay calm and collected and everything like that. And I really want to talk about your role on Netflix's The Liberator. How did you get involved with that project?
Oh man, oh man. That this one's a very special project to my heart. So I, like every other audition that comes through here, this was back in November of 2018, and I got an audition, and it was, at the time, it was pretty rare to get starring role kind of opportunities in
Mhm.
here in the southeast. But it just came in like every other audition through an email, and I did the usual routine of reading through it, preparing for it. I had 6 or 7 scenes that I was down here in the studio for maybe 3 or 4 hours,
Oh,
just
wow.
putting everything on tape, and sent it out. And like everything else, I didn't really hear a thing until January of 2019, where they asked me to. It was late January, and I had to do a second tape with. They gave me a bunch of notes. Well, actually, it was just simple enough notes on how to make certain adjustments so that
Mhm.
they wanted to see Gomez more a little bit like me, which was kind of a breath of fresh air, just to bring myself more to the role. I love that, and I did. So I came down here again and was down here for 5 hours with my son, and even my wife came down here for one of the scenes, and we hashed it out. We're a family of artists, we're a family of actors, and so we tend to work together very, very well. And we really just got to it. We got to create this little world, and tell you what, Jenna, lo and behold, when we found out that it was a definitive offer, I was elated, to say the least. Plus, I was going to end up shooting in Poland. That was a whole
Oh,
other. It was going
yeah.
to be my first time in Europe. All of it. It was absolutely magnificent and revolutionary in terms of the visual spectacle. It's got this hybrid live action animation thing going on, which is so
Mhm.
cool. I just absolutely love it. So fantastic. One of my, it's still, well, to this day, it's my favorite thing I've worked on, for
It
sure.
sounds amazing, and you mentioned that you shot in Poland. What is the series about for fans who don't know?
Yes, it's The Liberator. It's based on the book by Alex Kershaw, that is based on real events, on the story of Felix Sparks, who is from Oklahoma. He started off as a captain, and basically it just covers his 500 days of being on tour in Europe during World War II, and the different missions he goes on, the different kinds of amazing soldiers he works with, Native American, Mexican American, being highlighted in the show, because he was leading a lot of these men that were, at the time, very marginalized and discriminated against and treated unequally, but he saw them as equals. He saw them as brothers, and the show touches on that, on his perspective. It's definitely his perspective on this population of soldiers that not only were they talented but loyal and fierce brothers, and excuse me. And so that's essentially what the show is about. It covers the journey of the Thunderbirds, as they're known, through this World War II, you know, hellish reality that it was, and it leads them all the way from the beginning of Felix's Spark story into the discovering of the concentration camps. And it's all done in this hybrid, what's called Trioscope. It's by Trioscope Studios. The script is written by Jeb Stewart, and it was so wonderfully done so that it would fit this world of animation and hybrid. And it's a live action animated take on this heavy, heavy material, but it makes it digestible for anyone. So I think personally speaking, I absolutely loved it. As a fan of all these kinds of things like this, we're big Marvel fans in the house, Disney fans. But this was something different. This was something far more important, and it said a far deeper message for all Americans to learn about, because there was a lot of that story that still needed to be told.
For sure, it sounds like a great watch. Actually, actually make me want to watch it now.
Good, good.
And I know too that you mentioned you're family oriented and they help you with your auditions and things like that. And I know you have a YouTube channel with them. How did that come about?
Purely by, I mean, I say accident, but it's definitely a happy accident. The kids always goofed around on YouTube doing stuff, but it came about with doing a reaction video to Power Rangers years ago, the movie. My son had this idea. I guess he just kind of noticed people doing it, and
Mhm.
we decided to join in. We're young parents, so we don't hesitate to kind of play along with whatever the kids are up to. So we did. We did this reaction video. It was fun. We realized there was more traction on the channel from it, and people would seem to enjoy our commentary. So fast forward of when the Infinity War trailer dropped, my son was really keeping track on that, and it was late. I remember it was late one night, and we kind of stayed up a bit and watched it as soon as it dropped. And I guess we just, Jenna, it was one of those things that if you catch the wave, we
Mhm.
kind of just rode that wave of everyone watching this trailer. And holy
Definitely.
moly, by the next morning, we had close to 50,000 views. It was out of
Oh,
control.
wow.
I've never seen anything like it. I mean, it was s- absolute bonkers.
Yeah.
But it realized in me, like, wow, this is like a thing. People really enjoy doing this, and it's become more than that now. Now there's a community. People really, they dig the way we talk about movies. They, we try to, our whole Majeliv. That's what it's about. It's Majeliv, and it's cold,
Oh,
so I'm wearing
cool.
my
Oh,
sweater here. But it's all about just spreading positivity and light, and showing ourselves as we are. We try to stay as positive as we can. It's hard sometimes. We're not a perfect family, but the channel is just about us sitting down together, watching the stuff we love to watch together, and talking about it to our viewers. We vlog. We also have short films on there. So yeah, that's exactly what we're about now. It's become this channel. Magiliv has become this like our own little space to get creative, and it's also kind of bringing a little bit of light and hope to people. So it's a good setup, I think.
definitely. It sounds like a great opportunity to make content with your family and have fun while you're doing it.
Mhm.
Do you have any like holiday traditions? I know the holidays are coming up that you guys do together.
Yes, cook. We love cooking together. We this year obviously it's very different. We usually
Mhm.
meet up with family like everyone else, but
Okay.
our gatherings are pretty massive, and it's a whole lot of food. This year, again, like Thanksgiving for us, it was just the five of us, and this year Christmas, same thing. It's just gonna be the five of us, and there's something bittersweet about that, strangely, our kids are getting older, so it is kind of wonderful to be able to sit with them and just really check in
Mhm.
and see how life is evolving within their scope, and sometimes the noise of the holidays and appeasing family and having to be there for appointments, and that can get in the way. It becomes a distraction. So this is allowing us to be more in the moment, more connected. And I'll tell you what, Jenna, the thing I love about being an actor, I heard Chris Evans talk about this, is that the great high we get from being on set and working with other artists is that we're forced into this imaginary circumstance so that we can live in the moment and tell it so truthfully. And yet, when we get back to life, it's so difficult for me to do the same. So, this strange setup that COVID has put us in, very grateful everyone's healthy right now in the house. But we want to take advantage of everyone's good health and just sit in the holidays and make our hot chocolate, and we do this thing. So we're from Colombia, South America, and we have all kinds of little things. We make arepas, which
Oh,
is like a corn cake. I don't know if you know anything
yeah.
about arepas. So we have arepas. We make this thing. It's like rice pudding, but is in Spanish we say arroz con leche with some cinnamon. So we'll make all that together, And our chocolate is different. People think it's the weirdest thing because we take hot chocolate and we'll dip our bread in it. Um, and we've had American friends over and they're like, "That's nasty, man. What are you doing?" But it's a thing. It's just a little family. Just sit down and if it leads to good conversation, it is so worth whatever time we can have together because the kids are growing, like I said, and we
Mhm.
probably won't get those moments back. So it's important to capitalize on them.
For sure. At least for me, the holidays is all about family and spending time with those we love.
That's right.
Lastly, can you shout out your social media accounts and where fans could subscribe to your family YouTube channel?
Yes. YouTube channel is Majeliv, spelled like this, Majeliv. That's the other reason I wore this. It was going to be a lot easier that way. So it's just Majeliv, and we do reactions on there. We have short films. We have a lot of little creative content. And so I hope to see people on YouTube. You could also find us like this on Instagram, just at Majeliv. You could look for me specifically at Jose.Miguel.Vasquez. I'm usually on YouTube. We'll be talking movies and such there, and life and faith and family. That's essentially what we're playing at right now. But I look forward to connecting with anyone and everyone that wants to just kind of get a bit more behind the scenes stuff that our family's going through. And thank you, Jenna, for having me
Of
today.
course. Thank you so much for chatting with me. I think we had a great conversation.
You're wonderful. Thank you for your time.